Very well. So, friends, once again, good evening to all. Have put the session for recording as well. So, let me reiterate. At the moment, you are able to see that we are all able to multitask because at this very same instant, you are listening to me. You're looking at my screen. You are going to code also. You're even reading something from my screen. So, obviously, you are doing multitasking, isn't it? So that's what multitasking is all about. ये मल्टीटास्किंग जो आप रियल लाइफ में करते हो, ये आप कोडिंग में कैसे लेके आओगे? To bring multitasking in coding, you have to use threading in Java. So how does thread look like? First of all, multitaskings are of two types. I'm going full screen, friends, so that things are visible more clearly on the screen. There are two types of multitasking. One is process-based multitasking, another is thread-based multitasking. Our operating system right now, whether it's Mac OS or whether it's Windows OS, is running a lot of applications, isn't it? आपके काफी एप्लीकेशन चालू है अभी. फॉर एग्जांपल गूगल मीट शुरू है, वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग शुरू है. You can see my Google slides which is on here. Plus there are a lot of other applications which are running in the background in my computer. So this is called different processes. हर प्रोग्राम को गूगल स्लाइड, गूगल मीट, then Visual Studio Code Editor, Java compiler, consider each of them as a process. So from the operating system, they are all processes. So they all have to be running in parallel, right? And therefore they are called as process-based multitasking, right? So that's called process-based. That's operating system वाला एक term हो गया. यही चीज को अगर आपको अपने प्रोग्रामिंग में लेके आना है, तो हम कहते हैं we're doing thread-based multitasking. Multi-thread programming is applicable in Python as well as applicable in Java. In Java, multi-thread programming is very popular. Trust me, because Java is used for making big applications, specifically in the banking and the finance space. So thread programming वहाँ बहुत useful होता है, क्योंकि इन सभी spaces में, finance में, banking में, insurance में Java बहुत ज़्यादा use होता है. Finance, banking and insurance, in all these three sectors, friends, lot of users will use a system. It's never going to be single user. It's always going to be multi-user. Can you expect a bank to have one or two customers? No, na. Bank will have many customers. Insurance company will sell insurance to many insurance holders. So usually companies which are in the finance space, banking space, insurance space, they will have lot of customers, lot of users. That means they're looking at an environment which is multi-threading. Okay. Now, question that comes up is, when I'm going to do coding, in Java, how will I code for a thread? Okay. Before you get into a coding of thread, understand that the thread class in Java, how is it constructed? It's actually उसका जो dynamics है, उसका जो semantic है, उसका जो structure है, वो कैसा है? It is like this. Class thread extends object, implements runnable. मतलब इसका मतलब मालूम है क्या होता है? This means that a class thread in Java is extending the super duper class called object in Java. Object is like God for every class in Java. Implements runnable का मतलब होता है कि, see, runnable is an interface, and the runnable interface actually has a built-in method called run. So for all those people who are going through my Java coding course on the internship platform, definitely know that there is runnable interface, and every runnable interface has a run method. So anyone who is implementing the class thread or is using the class thread has to code the run function. Run function के अंदर आपके thread class का logic आता है. Okay, right? So keeping that in mind, friends, if I move further, what I can notice over here is something like this. Have a look at this. Each process, consider each process to be a project. Consider each process to be a project. Okay, so each process or project is consisting of multiple threads, T1, T2 and T3, and these threads are nothing but individual codes written in Java using the thread class. Okay, now how will this really help us in life? Well, this is going to help you in life. Okay, you can skip, this is for your kind of self repository, that बहुत सारे methods है Java में in thread class. Okay, look at this particular fundamental aspect of threads. Friends, the advantage of threads give us is something like this. If I write a single program by using, let's say, 3 threads, the thread symbol is like an S symbol. जो S symbol होता है ना, उसको कहते हैं thread symbol. Okay, so this is thread T1 supposedly, this is thread T2, and this is thread T3. Okay, so the fundamental aspect goes like this: thread T1, T2, and T3, wherein the thread T1, I repeat, wherein the thread T1, which you see here, see here, thread T1, this is going to run from start to end, but in case an exception in the thread T1, it won't affect the coding flow of thread T2 or thread T3. That means thread T2 and T3 will run to completion even if there is an exception happening in thread T1. ये इसका बेनिफिट है. You see, इमेजिन करो कि अगर आपने ये प्रोग्राम को एज फंक्शन फॉर्मेट में लिखा होता, आप बोलते अरे सर क्यों हम थ्रेड कोड करें, आई विल कोड अ फंक्शन f1, then I will code a function f2, then I will code a function f3, having the logic same as threads, work is accomplished. No, but the problem is, if I code it like this, if there is an exception happening in thread, in the function f1, then the flow of the whole program will get disturbed or broken at this point. That means I will never get a chance to run function f2 or function f3, which means that if I write the code in sequential fashion with an exception, I may break here. You may handle the exception by using try catch block, but understand that if you have coded all this in one single kind of try catch block, or if your try catch block is not very sophisticatedly done, then there is a possibility that you may break out of this point and sequential flow आपका disturb हो जाता है. So thread gives you an advantage here that you can do parallel tasking and keep the work separate without worrying about this. Okay, now, okay, let me turn off my video so that I can concentrate more on my screen. Okay, I'm going full screen now once again, friends, to have a look at this particular part over here. Okay, now once I explain you this, please remember all of you will be ready for very, very quick questions. Huh? Be ready. First, when you create a thread object in your code, it is considered in the new state. Moment you run a start method, there is a method which you run called t1.start. That is where you start a thread. When you start a thread, it actually first comes in the runnable phase. And so imagine the thread is in the runnable phase, means it is ready to run if given CPU time. It is ready to run if given CPU time. Moment it gets CPU time, it will run, that means execute on a computer. Once thread executes on a computer and the run function finishes, I will say thread has got terminated. But while the thread is running, suppose it is asking for a printer, it is asking for a file, it is asking for a database, which is not available. So I have to wait for input output. What is the use? There is no other option. I have to wait for input output. So I have to wait for an input output, and accordingly, I repeat, I have to wait for an input output. Accordingly, I will go to the non-runnable or block state, non-runnable or block state. I'll have to wait till I get my input output resource. Maybe a printer, maybe a database, maybe a file. कुछ भी हो सकता है ना? So your program can wait for anything. So whatever your program is waiting for, if that is available, I will straight go back to runnable state. That means I'm ready. Moment CPU time is given to me, I'll start running. Think about it like a human. Don't think for a thread pointer. Think like a human. आप जब पैदा हुए आप न्यू स्टेट में. Now you started going to school. So I'll say when you started going to school, you're in the runnable phase. But you can't work, right? You just got, because you've gone to school, you don't learn so much that you can start working. For anybody, business ke liye, kisi company ke liye. So then you go to college. So I'll say when you go to college, you're in the running state. But at one point of time, your college education will end. Na? Maybe after engineering or after post graduation or after PhD, किसी point पर अपना education end करोगे ना officially, बोलने के लिए कि भाई हाँ मेरा education अभी end हुआ है. So when your education comes to an end, graduation, post graduation, doctorate, whatever level, we say your running phase is like over, and after that you're kind of terminated. But while studying, if you get a KT or you fail in a subject or you fail to attend the required class, your attendance is low, then you're considered blocked. जब तक आप वो पूरा नहीं करोगे तब तक आप आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते. So I consider it to be a life cycle of a student कि पहले वो पैदा हुआ, he went to schooling, he went to college, he failed in a subject or his attendance was low, so he had to complete his backlog. After completing his backlog, only then he can go to the next semester and the series of his studying continues. When he finishes his study, I consider it to be terminated state. Okay, so that's an easy way to remember. आप बोलोगे रॉकी सर ये ब्लॉकिंग स्टेट क्यों? दोस्तों, अगर मैं आपको ये कहूं, right now only if I tell you that do an engineering drawing for me, you will say, oh Rocky sir, I can do engineering drawing for you, but for that I need some apparatus. I need a drawing board, I need a drawing paper, I need some more apparatus. Apparatus आपके पास अभी नहीं है, but you know where you have kept it somewhere at home, so you need to find it. तो उस समय वो काम कर पाओगे? नहीं कर पाओगे ना. What will happen? You will postpone it. आप बोलोगे कल करता हूँ, आज रात को 10 बजे करता हूँ, सामान खोजता हूँ कहाँ पड़ा है. So you are in the block state. So you decided to do some work, but वो काम करने के लिए आपके पास immediate resources नहीं है. So I consider either you can sleep for some time, that means you can take some pause, or you need to wait for the input output to be available, that means the resources to be available, and moment the resources are available, you will go back from block state back to runnable state. Okay, even if one resource is not available to you, I'll consider you to be in the block state. Okay, now I have quick questions for all of you to ask. Please be ready. मेरा पहला सवाल, when a thread is just created, which state is it in? When a thread is just created, which state is it in? Friends, please answer.
New.
New state, correct. You can all of you can use please chats and answer. New state, correct. Next, you have all the resources, but CPU has yet not been allocated to you. You have all the resources, लेकिन आपको CPU allocate नहीं किया गया है. आप कौन से स्टेट में हो? Class, please answer.
Runnable.
Runnable, that's right. Very good. Excellent. CPU has been allocated to you. Which state are you in? You have all the resources. CPU also allocated to you.
Running.
Correct. While running, you require database connection. While running, you require database connection. Which state?
Runnable.
No, block state. While running, you require database connection. So database connection will take time now to be made. So you will momentarily go into block state, then you will go into runnable state. Okay, database connection will probably take a few seconds to be made. So program runs in milliseconds or microseconds. So for a few seconds, you will come to the block state, and then you will be pushed back into runnable state. Okay. You wanted to do some file or some database reading writing. आपका पूरा काम खत्म हो गया. अभी आप कौन से स्टेट में जाओगे?
Terminated.
Correct. After the thread is terminated, does it still remains in the computer's memory? Common sense क्या कहता है? Or is it removed from the computer's memory?
Removed.
Correct. That's right. Your gut feeling should say that यार जब thread terminate हो गया तो उसको वहाँ क्यों बैठना है? आपका कॉलेज का जो भी आप कोर्स कर रहे हो, whether it's 10th, 11th, 12th, whether it's polytechnic, whether it's engineering, whether it's masters, वो पूरा होने के बाद कॉलेज से आप बाहर निकल जाते हो. You don't sit back in the college, right? So that's called terminated. Very good. Perfect. Now, friends, let me execute the very first program with you. Remember, ये programs आपके पास भी है. These programs are there with you. You can always go to the PDF and pick up the program from the PDF. I will open the program in my workspace right now. I'm opening up the workspace. You will say, Rocky sir, even we want your workspace. I'm not giving you my workspace for a very simple reason, because I don't want to kind of make you spoon fed, because your programs are given in the PDF. You can always copy paste it from there and kind of run it and experience it. Plus you have the recording as well, so you know अगर मैंने कुछ कोड टाइप किया है क्लास में लाइव, तो यू नो व्हाट आई हैव टाइप्ड. Great. So let us see multithreading.java. Let us become the very first program. This has to come in the file setpl, which I made last time. For convenience sake, I will punch the program in the class also. Short programs में class में punch करूंगा, जैसे आप भी execute कर सको live. So I would please request you to look at my screen for the minute, and then I'll give you time to execute your codes, friends. Please have a look. You haven't to import any class for using threads, because by default Java has a thread class built in. Please notice when I say current thread, usually current thread कौन है? दोस्तों, every program you write in Java from day one up till now, every program you wrote in Java which contains the main function is actually the main thread. So if you are on the impression कि आप आज से मल्टी थ्रेडिंग कर रहे हो, वो ठीक है, लेकिन आप थ्रेडिंग आज से कर रहे हो, वो गलत है. For every program you've written, you actually had a main thread by default. Every program you've written was actually containing of a single thread called main thread. But today onwards, you are writing programs which probably contains, let's say, two threads. We are making T1 and T2, but actually there are three threads. One which is not visible to you, which is the main thread. Other two we are going to make T1 and T2, or even more. Therefore, we call today's chapter as multi-threading. लेकिन थ्रेडिंग आप आज पहली बार नहीं कर रहे हो दोस्तों, थ्रेडिंग आप डे वन से करते आ रहे हो. The hello world program you written actually was a thread based program, because every code in Java runs as a thread. Let me run this code and show it to you so that I can speak about the output. Java C cpl.java. Please have a look. What output am I getting? Current thread details. Current thread details are marked as T. You know who T is? T is the object of thread right now in focus. जो मेन फंक्शन आप यहां देख रहे हो, this itself is a thread. So current thread is actually finding the thread object of the current program, which I've captured in the variable T. When I print details of T, please notice what I get. I'm getting that this is the main thread. Its ID is like #1. It is the thread with main. 5 is a thread priority. Thread can have priorities like 1 very low, 5 which is average or medium, and 10 which is very high. So thread can have, so this is the average or medium priority of a thread, and the thread contains the function called main. So he is a main thread with a mid priority of 5 and containing the main function, and he's the first one, thread number 1. Cool. Next I have got t.get id. That's the ID of the thread. Get name, which is main obviously, priority which is 5, and what is the status? Friends, by default आप running program में कभी भी thread का status print करोगे ना, कभी running नहीं आएगा आपको. You will never ever see the word running. You will always see the word runnable. But remember the output coming. You say, अरे but Rocky sir, output आया तो running होना चाहिए ना. हाँ, जब output आया था उस time वो running था दोस्तों. आप understand कीजिए, जो output through हुआ उस time वो running था. Okay, so when the program, when the point of the program got compiled, that time the thread state is actually runnable. So you will never see the output as running. But remember, when the output has come, the program of course has run. But before running and after running, the program remains in a state called runnable. So the status always which will be seen visible will be only be runnable. you won't see the word running ever coming. Okay. Can I hope all of you running this code, please? Is anybody of you running the code? Let me know. Are you getting the same output or not? Confusions, please ask. Doubts, please ask. I'm holding. Friends, I'm repunching the code just in case if anybody missed my code. I'm repunching the code once again. Friends, anyone who has finished executing the code and has got the output? Friends, see, doesn't make sense waiting. No, please respond, Corona. मैं अपने आप से बात तो नहीं कर रहा हूँ. I'm not talking to myself, right? I'm talking to all of you. So, are you executing the code? Tell me yes. If you're not executing the code, fine. Let me then allow me to move further. Friends, I'm hoping some response. Vinit says not executing. Okay, that's honest. Give an honest answer. If you're not executing the code, say no. Executing the code, say yes. Okay. So I think I need to move ahead because I don't see people executing the codes. I've already punched you the code. Right. So at least you've understood that every code which you write in Java is actually holding, uh, is actually holding a so-called main thread. Okay. Now, how do you code a thread? See, there are two ways to actually code a thread. Let me go full screen. Let me show you some couple of code samples. There are two ways to code a thread. One is extending the thread class. Other is implementing the java.lang.runnable interface. Frankly speaking, the second approach of implementing the java.lang.runnable interface is a better approach. Frankly, अगर मैं आपको कहूँ, the second approach is better than extending the thread class. I'll tell you the reason. Friends, we all know that when we use the keyword called extends in Java, you can only write the word extends once, and after the word extends, you can write the class. After the word extends, you can write the term called class, right? Now, if you are defining your class called class ABC extends thread, then you won't be able to extend any further class in the future, isn't it? अगर आप लिखोगे class ABC extends thread, then you won't be able to extend any further in life, isn't it? You won't be able to, right? Because you won't be able to extend any further. Therefore, let's appreciate that you will not be able to use this property of inheritance any further. So the better option would be that you write your own class ABC. Instead of writing the word extends, you say implements runnable. And when you implements runnable, the advantage you get is if you want to extend any other class, you can. Only thing you need to try to extend here. So class ABC, let's say extends DEF, implements runnable. You see? So you are not losing your freedom of inheriting. Here you lose your freedom of inheriting. So in the second approach, you have still the freedom of inheriting from a parent class. That's the advantage. Okay, so it is always preferable to use a second approach. Let me show you the codes in both the cases directly from my workspace. If you're not executing the code, I will not punch it across. If you're just watching me, I'll not punch it across. आप मुझे बताओ. If you want me to punch the code, I repeat, if you want me to punch the code because you're accumulating it at your workspace, let me know. Okay, I will punch it. But somebody has to respond. हाँ punch करो. Then only I will punch it. That doesn't make sense, no? So let's have a look. Class SCTPL extends thread. Extends thread. So when your class SCTPL extends thread, notice that actually extending the thread class. The moment you extend the thread class, please remember your this class by default will have a method called run. So SCTPL class now has a responsibility to implement the run function. ये उसकी responsibility होगी. What I have done in the run function, nothing big. I have run a for loop for 5 times. I'm printing the value of I. Okay, and finally I print exiting thread. Remember, the for loop contains only one statement. There's no brace bracket. Na, एक ही statement है for loop. In the main function, I make an object of SCTPL, which is actually a thread class, and I start the thread. Moment you start the thread, you can remember this with me. Moment you start the thread, you're actually invoking the run function of it. We never called run by writing t1.run because that's not an ordinary method. This is the way you run a thread. So you to run a thread is how you start a car by ignition. You don't open the engine to start the car, ना. आप गाड़ी को शुरू कैसे करते हो? चाबी डाल के शुरू करते हो ना. So एक तरीका होता है गाड़ी को शुरू करने का. बिल्कुल वैसे the way you start a car by a key, you start a thread by using the start method. Okay. So I hope you are able to get me here. So let me go step by step on this. Compile the code, ran the code, and here I get, wow, makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, exiting thread. 1, 2, 3, 4, exiting thread. 1, 2, 3, 4 कैसे? For loop से आया, exiting thread उसके end में आया. Right? That's not println. If I put println, then you will have things coming on separate lines. Let's try this. Compile, run the code. As you can see on my screen, you got your output. Right? So I hope you are able to get me on this. So I will clear my screen. If you wish, I will punch this output also over if any one of you is executing the code.
Sir,
Yes, please tell me.
to print a number on a new line, what we use?
Println.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Not to print a number, print anything. On a new line, we use println.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Is anybody executing the code? Should I wait? Please tell me, friends. आप में से कोई भी अगर कोड एग्जीक्यूट कर रहा है तो मैं वेट करने को तैयार हूँ. आयशा, आयुष, हसन, then there is some person's name ICT Micro, and there are so many more people. If anybody is executing the code all the way up till Vinith, let me know, please. See, it makes sense that I wait if you are executing the codes. So please let me know. Anybody has a doubt, slightest doubt also, please come to audio and ask me. Chat से पूछो अगर comfortable नहीं है audio तो. आगे बढ़ा जाए.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, now this is another way of creating the thread. This is also the first way where you extend the thread class. But have a look at this. At times you will get confused, but it's very simple. Again, you have a class, whatever name you give, ABC, दो HTTP, जो नाम देना है. Extends thread. Look little further. Because you're extending thread, so obviously you will code the run function. Choice ही नहीं है आपके पास, करना ही पड़ेगा. Run function तो code करना पड़ेगा. आपने run function code किया. Run function खत्म होने के बाद you can notice what is in the main function. First, I made an object of HTTP. Actually, HTTP itself is a thread. So you have made an object of thread actually. That is T1. Then you have made a thread object which is called TT. Remember, you're always allowed to make an object any point of time of the thread class in Java. But this object called new thread is useless till you don't give him a run function. तो आपने मालूम है क्या क्या यहाँ पर? आपने पहले ऑब्जेक्ट T1 का बनाया which contains the run function, and that T1 object's run function is being given to your new thread TT, which is being made. So effectively, when you're saying tt.start, it's like cascading. Suppose मुझे कुछ काम करना है, so instead of I doing it myself, I'm calling Vinith. I'll call Vinith 9362 and tell Vinith, यार मेरे लिए काम करोगे please. Vinith says, okay, Rocky sir, I'll do it for you. And Vinith is giving the work to his friend, and he's doing it. Same thing happened here. tt.start is actually calling the thread object called T1, and inside the thread object T1, you are actually invoking the run method. So look at the sequence. First, tt.start is being called, so we feel that tt का run call हो रहा है. नहीं भैया, tt में run है ही नहीं. tt के अंदर कौन है? T1 है, और T1 के अंदर run है, who is being called. Okay, if I run this piece of code, I'll get the output as same as the previous one, so I don't want to run it. If you still want you to see the code in the running state, चलो मैं run कर लेता हूँ आप लोगों के लिए, लेकिन output is same as above, like the previous code. ये देखिए, all are come in one line because मैंने print ln नहीं रखा है. If I click print ln, obviously my output will come on separate lines, as you could see. Okay, this is next way of making a thread. Now, I would like to show you how do you make a thread by using the runnable interface. वो देखो, that's very interesting. Sorry. Yes, friends, so let's have a look at this. Class RR, any name can be given by your choice, it's your choice. Implements runnable. Moment you write implements runnable, you automatically will get the run method. Runnable interface के अंदर एक ही तो चीज है, run method. So, moment you write implements runnable, you get the run method, which you are coding as you could see here. And now you have two classes. Huh? So there is one class here which implements runnable. So he only contains the run function. And there is another class SCTPL. There is another class SCTPL in whose main function we are having an object of an object of so sorry an object of RR. Now RR is a class which is implementing runnable. So obviously आपको यहाँ पर क्लैरिटी आ जाती है कि R1 का जो ऑब्जेक्ट होगा उसके अंदर रन फंक्शन है. So whenever you create a thread object, you will supply R1 because R1 is the one who contains the run. You will say, Rocky sir, वो करने की क्या जरूरत थी? You could have directly written R1 dot start. It will not work. क्योंकि because understand कीजिए R1 is an object of RR, which is not a thread. Please understand, it is not a thread. It is just a class which is implementing runnable. That means it can only have the run function. Something which is not a thread, how will a start work over it? Tomorrow if I give you the car keys and tell you you start, you will say, where is the car, Rocky? Car तो दो, मैं start कैसे क्या करूँ? Start क्या करूँ चाबी से? So if I give you the car key, I have to also give you the car. Only then can you start. Same way, if I tell you that you have to start, I have to also give you the car to start, right? So TT is the car which you're starting. And what is the run function and what is runnable? Runnable and run function is your engine, which is there in RR. So imagine this way that the thread is acting, the outer thread box is acting as a car, and this inner box is your class RR, which is the runnable, which contains the run function. Okay, so when you start the car, you are actually starting the engine. Simple. And this is the most common way, because tomorrow if you want to say class SCTPL extends some parent class, at least you can do that, no? Last time कैसे करते थे आप? Last time your class was extending thread. So how can you extend any further? Understand? Okay, that's the beauty of coding in this particular way. Okay, friends, I'm punching you this code just in case out of any one of you wants to code, at least in that situation, you have the code with you. Okay, I want all of you to take a view of my screen. I'm going to be on mute for a minute. I want you to scan what is on the screen for a minute. Okay, I will hold. Fantastic. So, friends, let's have a look. Priority of a thread goes something like this. As you can see on my screen, there are three values here. Min priority means 1, minimum priority. अगर बहुत सारे threads हुए तो min priority thread will run last. Norm priority is default priority, which means 5. Every newborn thread by default has norm priority. Max priority is 10, highest. If there are many threads, any thread with max priority will run first. Actually, the story is that they don't run first. If there are many threads, they may start in any order, but the thread with the max priority will always end first. अंडरस्टैंड करो, ट्रिक समझो स्टोरी का. जिस थ्रेड की प्रायोरिटी हाईएस्ट होती है ना, मैक्स, वो सबसे पहले खत्म होगा, सबसे पहले स्टार्ट होगा, वो गारंटी नहीं है. थ्रेड्स में स्टार्ट इन एनी सीक्वेंस, but 110% the thread which is having the max priority will always end. I repeat my words, will always end first. Okay, right? So this is a very important thing which you probably need to always remember. Now let me look at a program which is over here in front of you. Let me go ahead executing this code to show you the importance of multi-threading and priority. Of course, to change the priority of a thread, you need to do it. ऐसा अपने आप से नहीं होगा वो. You need to do that. As you could see, I'm using the set priority method to change the priority of a thread to, let's say, value 1. So let's have a look at this. First, a new thread was formed. I'm printing the get priority of thread T1, which by default will obviously be 5. फिर उसके बाद मैंने thread T1 की priority को change करके 1 कर दिया है दोस्तों. Again, I'm telling you get priority, so obviously it's going to be 1. Then I'm setting the same thread's priority to 10. Max priority is 10. And I'm trying to get the priority. So two things should be clear to you. How do you get the priority of a thread? Use a method called get priority. How do you change it? Use a method set priority. Second thing you should understand कि एक ही थ्रेड की प्रायोरिटी को आप एक सिंगल प्रोग्राम में जितनी बार चाहो चेंज कर सकते हो. एक ही थ्रेड की प्रायोरिटी को आप एक ही सिंगल गिवन प्रोग्राम में जितनी बार चाहो उतनी बार चेंज कर सकते हो. आपने एक बार यहाँ चेंज किया, एक बार यहाँ चेंज किया. एक थर्ड चीज आपने नोटिस की, you can change the priority of a thread by two ways. Either you can give me the numeric value or you can give me the thread constant. You can give me numeric value or you can give me thread constant, like min priority, max priority, yes. You can give me some constant value here. Okay, so let us see this code in the running state, friends. Compile the code and run it. Have a look. So a newborn thread has a priority that is norm priority, which is 5. Proved ho gaya. You change the priority to 1 and then change the priority to 10. Okay. Remember, if there are multiple threads in a given program, the thread which is having the highest priority will always end first. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ that it is going to start first. It's going to end first. Oh, I think I mistakenly closed the window. Just give me a second, friends. I mistakenly closed the window for the VS Code editor. Just give me a second. Sure. Right. Okay. So let's have a look at the next thing called as the sleep method. Of course, I'm not going to execute every program from my code space. Otherwise, you will have nothing to practice after my session, because I have already given you the notes on the WhatsApp group. So obviously, I'm expecting some questions you will also solve. I'm looking at the sleep method. Friends, when you and I also go to sleep, we are relaxing. We are not doing physical activity. Same way here, when threads go to sleep, they are not running. So sleep means literally sleep. वो कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. So how will a thread probably in the sleep state look like? That is the first thing. And what is the use of putting a thread to sleep? Friends, when you put a thread to sleep, remember, you are putting into block state. आप जब किसी थ्रेड को स्लीप पे डालते हो तो आप उसको डाल रहे हो ब्लॉक्ड स्टेट में. So have a look at this, please. Have a look at this. I can notice here that I set up a for loop. Class, may I know how many times this for loop will run? Class, can you please help me? How many times will this for loop run? Please let me know. Please let me know how many times will this for loop run? Okay, Hassan says the loop will run for 4 times, and you're absolutely correct, Hassan. Awesome, because you're starting from 1, you're ending less than 5, so it will run for 1, 2, 3, 4 for 5 times or 4 times, correct? And as you can see, friends, in the try catch block, I have kept the thread to sleep for 500 milliseconds. बहुत छोटा समय है ये, थोड़ा बढ़ा दूं? I'll make it 10,000. Chalo, I'll make it 1,000 milliseconds means 1 second. So this is going to put a thread to sleep for 1 second. Okay. Now, okay, so whenever you use a sleep function, always remember you must use a try catch with an interrupted exception. That's a protocol in Java programming. And after the thread has come to sleep for 1,000 milliseconds, that means a 1 second, you are going ahead printing the value of I, which is initially 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Notice कीजिए बड़े ध्यान से, how many thread objects have you made? From one single class, you have made 2 thread objects. One is T1, another is T2. You select both the threads, right? Now look at how the output comes. You would see the output coming as 1, 1, twice. So you will understand that Java C HTTPL in Java. Look at the output. Why the 1 came twice? Because there were 2 threads, no? So the first thread printed 1, then the second thread printed. देखो, पहले thread ने 1 प्रिंट किया, सो गया. दूसरे ने प्रिंट किया, वो भी सो गया. फिर पहला वाला उठा, उसने 2 प्रिंट किया, वो सो गया. फिर सेकंड उठा, 2 प्रिंट किया, वो सो गया. So why they're coming alternatives? Because you have made discipline among them by putting threads to sleep for 1,000 milliseconds. Okay, that's the beauty of sleeping. So when you make the threads to sleep, you're actually able to create a kind of a delay in your output. As you could see, the output is coming slowly and gradually. No? Now, can I use sleep method to probably use, to do 2 different activities in 2 different classes, but print the output in a sequence? Of course. Why not? Have a look at this, please. Have a look at this. Class odd extends thread is creating a thread class in whose run function I am printing this for loop is printing all odd numbers. As you could get, I'm starting from 1 and I'm incrementing by 2 each time. So पहला initial value I का क्या होगा? 1, next 3, next 5, so on and so 1, 3, 5, 7 क्या होता है? Odd numbers. You are putting thread to sleep for some time. Okay, let's put it at 500 milliseconds. 500 millisecond रखते हैं. Okay, this whole code will print only odd numbers. Similarly, the class even is also printing. You can choose the same value, 500 or maybe less or more is also okay. Here and little 5-10 milliseconds up and down will not differ much. You are starting with 2 and you're incrementing by 2 again. So it will be 2, 4, 6, 8, so on and so forth. And therefore, you are able to print all the even numbers. So odd numbers ho gaye, even numbers ho gaye, right? Next what? After printing the odd and the even numbers, please notice, friends, that you are saying that you will go ahead creating 2 objects. First object is of odd, the class odd, and the other object is of the class even. आपने odd के thread को start कर लिया, it will start printing odd numbers. Even के thread को start किया, will start printing the even numbers. Now think about it. ये दोनों collide नहीं करेंगे आपस में? नहीं करेंगे. ये दोनों आपस में collide नहीं करेंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि दोस्तों थोड़ा इसके बारे में सोचिए. दोनों threads आपस में sleep करते हैं ना? How can they collide then? One thread prints, he goes to sleep. Other prince goes to sleep. See, output comes so beautifully systematic. See yourself. First odd number 1 came, then even number, then odd number 3, then even number 4. You will say 2 थोड़ा बाहर क्यों आ रहा है, offset क्यों आ रहा है? हाँ, that is because I have given that offset while printing. See, I'll show you. When I'm printing even numbers, na, I've concatenated a space. In Java, I use a plus operator for concatenating. So I've used concatenated a space. जैसे आपको एक satisfaction feel हो आउटपुट को देखकर, हाँ बिल्कुल, कि ये जो आउटपुट 2 आ रहा है वो सेकंड थ्रेड से आ रहा है, आउटपुट 4 जो आ रहा है सेकंड थ्रेड से आ रहा है, आउटपुट 6 जो आ रहा है सेकंड थ्रेड से आ रहा है, so on and so forth. Okay, right? So I hope you're able to kind of get this. So let's see how things move further on this. As you guys are not executing the codes with me, so no worries, I will not punch the whole code to you because you're not executing with me, and I'm going on a little faster pace because I do understand that people joined in the session have, maybe they're fasting, so they will probably need to end their fast or go for prayers. So I understand that. So accordingly, I'll be ending my session, on time. Whatever time I promised, I will be ending my session on time. Say around 8:15 or 8:10, I'll be ending. Okay. Then if you have doubts, you can please ask me. Now I'm coming into a little difficult topic, huh? Join method. Now what does join method exactly mean? Friends, क्या होता है ना? Suppose I code something called as a main thread. Suppose I code something called as a main thread. And I'm coding 2 more threads. One is T1, one is T2. One is T1, other is T2. Main thread has started. Main thread in the code starts T1 and starts T2. It has no more work. Main thread has no more work. So main thread can say that I have ended here, right? I have ended here, but I don't want that. I don't want the main thread, honestly speaking, I don't want the main thread to end here. Please understand? I don't want. I want the main thread to not end here, but wait here till, see, by rule, main thread should terminate because his work is over. His work was to create T1, start T1, create T2, start T2, खत्म. उसका तो मेन काम खत्म हो गया. नहीं, मुझे नहीं चाहिए कि मेन खत्म. I don't want to terminate. So wait here till your children who created T1, Rocky sir, main. Who created T2, main. Who started T1, main. So obviously main becomes the parent. Obviously T1 becomes the child. So there are 2 child or children threads. There are 2 child or children threads. So there is a parent and there are 2 children, T1 and T2. So wait here till T1 and T2 finish. Wait here till T1 and T2 finish. So understand this. When you say wait here till T1 and T2 finish, which precisely means, I repeat, which precisely means that जब तक चिल्ड्रन फिनिश नहीं होते, अपना काम करके वो खत्म नहीं करते, तब तक पैरेंट टर्मिनेट नहीं होगा. If you want this kind of functionality, you have to join. Join basically means that the parent thread or the main thread is joining T1 and T2, which means till the time the children don't finish their work, parent will not get terminated or get over. He will sleep in the background. He will not get terminated. Okay. How do you implement this? It's very simple. You have to just use join method. Let me show you by straight practical execution so that things become very easy and clear. And while talking about this very long program, 60 lines का program है, तो लंबा तो है ही ये program definitely. So while talking about the 60 lines program, I will also tell you logically about a new method called is alive. What is that doing? Very well, friends. So I made a class called new thread which implements runnable. So I'm using the second approach. दो approaches थे ना हमारे पास, extends thread or implements runnable. So here I'm using the approach implements runnable. Next, this is just a constructor which makes the thread basically for you, and the run function of the thread says I will print the value name 1 because value of I will be initially I will be 3, then it's decrementing, so it will be name 3 name 2 name 1. इस तरीके से वो जाएगा decrementing phase में, and each line it prints that will go to sleep for 1000 milliseconds. पहले वो print करेगा name 3, फिर वो print करेगा name 2. Each line it prints it will go to sleep for 1000 milliseconds. Okay, next let's see this. What I see here is new thread ob1 object has got made, new thread ob2 object got made, and new 3 ob3 object got made. So effectively I made 3 objects, right? ob1, ob2, and ob3. ob1 object is of the first thread, ob2 second thread, ob3 third thread. At the moment, are they all alive? At the moment, are they all alive? Yes, they are. And in the main function, please understand this is the main code, right? Main function के अंदर लिख रहे हो ना आप ये सब. So in the main function, you are saying that you would like to join the thread ob1, ob2, and ob3. So at the moment, to be very honest, you are having 4 threads. One is main, one is ob1, one is ob2, one is ob3. Main, ob1, ob2, and ob3. So in this case, main calls or join, not calls, main joins with ob1, main joins with ob2, and main joins with ob3. So when you join with ob1, ob2, and ob3, please remember, thereby you are ensuring कि जब तक तीनों finish नहीं होंगे तब तक main will not get over. Okay, cool. So obviously when तीनों finish हो गए हैं and then this part of the code runs in main function, you should get that is alive is false for all the 3. आपको सोचो दोस्तों that you are going to go to this line of code only when they have ended because you joined ना. आपका आप इस तरीके से समझो कि आपका जो मेन फंक्शन है वो हॉल्ट हो जाता है 41, 42, 43 पर. योर मेन फंक्शन हैज गॉट halted at 41, 42 and 43. Completely halt हो गया. Your main function will only move further. I mean to say this program will only move further to line number 48, 50 and 53 only when your 3 threads have got over. Now when 3 threads have got over, how can ob1 is alive be true? Obviously it has to be false. Have a look at the output. I run my code. As you can see, look at the output very carefully. Still coming up. Abhi hua output finish. Initially, I printed the 3 thread objects. You say, "Arey Rocky, why ID is coming 21?" Friends, how many threads we have made till now? So many programs we have run. So internally Java में बहुत सारे threads बन चुके हैं. So the 3 threads got formed right now. Initially the 3 threads were alive. That's right. Therefore it was true. Then values got printed. 2, 3, 1. Then again 3, 2, 1. So all the values got printed. After the 3 threads got exiting. That means तीनों threads finish हो गया, अपना काम finish हो गया. तीनों threads ने अपना अपना काम जब finish किया, तब उसके बाद मेन थ्रेड का लास्ट 3 लाइन रन हुआ. तो नोटिस कीजिए ज्वाइन का एडवांटेज क्या. ज्वाइन ने मेन को होल्ड पर रखा जब तक तीनों थ्रेड्स अपना काम फिनिश नहीं करते. दैट्स द ब्यूटी ऑफ ज्वाइन फंक्शन. ओके, आई एम गोइंग टू होल्ड फॉर अ मिनट. please ask me any doubts you have. I repeat, please ask me any doubts which you have. I'm holding for a minute. Are we good to go ahead? Let me know. I'm holding.
Sir, why all the threads are false?
Threads are come false to you because the thread 3, 2 and 1 are all exiting ना, उनका काम खत्म हो गया. अब मेन
After
फंक्शन,
exit, okay, sir.
हाँ, तो मेन फंक्शन में जब वापस चेक किया तो सब फॉल्स है क्योंकि थ्रेड एंड हो चुके थे. Okay, let me take you to synchronization factor here. स्टूडेंट्स, जब आप ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सेशन अटेंड करते हो, जैसे अभी कर रहे हो, कॉलेज में भी जब लाइव लेक्चर अटेंड करते हो ऑफलाइन, या फोन पर किसी से बात कर रहे हो, if you speak and the person on the other side also speaks, what's going to happen? Argument. What's going to happen? Misunderstanding, because both are speaking at the same time. So if I'm speaking, you're listening, vice versa, when you're speaking, I'm listening, then only we both can talk to each other. Therefore, we need to synchronize. Same synchronization should happen in threads also, and thereby the topic of synchronization in Java comes up. If I synchronize in threads in Java, I can have great work done. The core thing to synchronize threads in Java is to understand the keyword called synchronized. And by using synchronized keyword, just understand it in a logical perspective. Supposedly, I want to print table of numbers, but I don't want to keep on interleaving. I don't want to print first the table of 5, that is 5 into 1, 5 into 2, 5 into 3, and then print 100 into 1. I don't want to keep interleaving कि पहले 5 into 1 print हुआ, फिर 100 into 1. लास्ट टाइम कैसे हो रहा था? पहले ऑड फिर इवन, फिर ऑड फिर इवन. मुझे ऐसा नहीं चाहिए. I want this thread to first completely finish its work, and then the thread 2's turn should come. I repeat, I want thread 1 to first completely finish your work, and then thread 2's work turn should come. If you want this to happen, then please use synchronized keyword. So you will notice that thread 1 and thread 2 both are using a print table function which I marked synchronized. So when you mark any function as synchronized, the advantage which you will get, friends, is something like this, that if I mark method as synchronized, you cannot start it and end it in between. No. You have to start this and go up to the end. पूरा काम फिनिश करो. आप बोलोगे अरे रॉकी जी इसमें एक फॉर लूप है जो रन करता है 5 times and each time it sleeps for 1000 milliseconds. It's okay. Let this whole code take 5 into 1000, that is 5000 milliseconds to run. चलेगा. आप बोलोगे अरे रॉकी जी ये मेथड स्लीप में जा चुका है, अलाउ करो नेक्स्ट थ्रेड को रन करने के लिए. नहीं कर सकता दोस्त, क्योंकि आपने थ्रेड 1 के फंक्शन को सिंक्रोनाइज्ड मार्क किया है. If you mark him synchronized, even if thread 1 is very sleeping, you cannot leave the thread 1 and come to thread 2. The way it happened in the previous case, जब आपने odd और even number को प्रिंट किया तो क्या हुआ था? पहले odd रन किया, एक फिर वो स्लीप में चले गया तो कंट्रोल वेंट टू इवन. इवन का एक रन किया, वो स्लीप चले गया तो कंट्रोल वेंट बैक टू ऑड. दे वर इंटरलीविंग. पहला ए फिर बी वापस ए फिर बी, ऐसा हो रहा था. मुझे ऐसा नहीं चाहिए. I want the thread you enter खत्म, जब तक वो फिनिश नहीं होगा तब तक आप नेक्स्ट थ्रेड का कुछ भी एग्जीक्यूट नहीं करोगे. That is a point where we mark it as synchronized. So in very sensitive operations which you're not allowed to interleave, it should complete it. For example, a banking transaction or payment transaction, you can't interleave. So a banking transaction or a payment transaction should go in one go. Either it should go in one go or it shouldn't go at all. Therefore, you have to mark it as synchronized. Okay, that's the application of the synchronization in threads. That the whole transaction should go in one particular go. Okay, friends, right? Executing the code is not really so important, so you can kindly ignore execution of the code. Right. So I didn't actually. You guys didn't took a time today because none of you executed the codes today. Usually people execute. So friends, I hope you found the session useful. So with this note, I wish you all the best. If you have any doubts, you are please welcome to come to audio to ask me. आपको और कोई suggestions देना है मुझे, you can still come to audio to ask me. You have a doubt in some other topic, you can still come to audio to ask me. And if you have no doubts, you're please welcome to start leaving the session. I will also stop the recording. Thank you. Thank you, class, for coming in. The recording will be available to you by tomorrow on our portal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.